performance reminded me of investment seminars that targeted retirees with guaranteed returns and exclusive opportunities. The warning signs accumulated throughout the evening. My professional skepticism competed with my personal desire to believe in their success. The conflict created uncharacteristic hesitation in my usually decisive mind. Erin approached me near the dessert table with 2 champagne flutes. Her smile seemed genuine as she handed me one. She said this special vintage was reserved for family only. I accepted the glass with gratitude. The bubbles caught the candlelight beautifully. I brought the glass to my lips but paused before drinking. Something seemed off about the aroma. A subtle bitterness underneath the expected notes. My years investigating financial fraud had taught me to notice inconsistencies. I smiled at my daughter while pretending to sip. The bitterness on the rim confirmed my suspicion. Something was very wrong. I glanced around the room discreetly and noticed Jake filming with his phone from behind a column. His assistant David hovered nearby looking nervous. The champagne glass felt suddenly heavy in my hand. The crystal caught the light differently as my perspective shifted. The beautiful bubbles now seemed menacing rather than celebratory. The careful arrangement of the moment became obvious. Erin positioning us near the velvet chaise lounge. Jake with camera already recording from his strategic location. David watching with nervous anticipation rather than attending to actual event duties. The realization that my own daughter had prepared this trap created physical symptoms I carefully concealed. My heart rate increased slightly. My mouth dried instantly. My vision narrowed briefly before I forced myself to breathe normally. The training from decades of high-pressure negotiations activated automatically. Never show weakness when discovering deception. Gather information while maintaining composure. Plan countermeasures while appearing oblivious. The business skills translated perfectly to this unexpected personal betrayal. I excused myself to use the restroom, taking my glass with me. The hallway provided a moment of quiet reflection. My mind ran through possible scenarios, none of them innocent. I spotted David approaching with empty hands. His job tonight was documenting the event for marketing materials according to the program. I greeted him warmly and offered him my untouched champagne, claiming a sudden headache. He accepted without hesitation. I watched him return to the main room. My heartbeat remained steady despite the betrayal unfolding before me. Years of high-pressure financial decisions had conditioned me to think clearly in crisis. I positioned myself near the dessert table again, observing from a distance. The restroom mirror reflected a woman who appeared completely composed despite internal turmoil. My makeup remained flawless, my posture perfectly straight, my expression pleasantly neutral. Only my eyes revealed the calculation happening behind them. The champagne glass felt like evidence in my hand. I considered preserving it for testing, but dismissed the idea as unnecessary complication. The trap itself provided sufficient confirmation of their intentions. I rinsed the glass thoroughly in the sink before placing it on the counter. The bitter residue washed away with the water. The memory would remain permanent. I straightened my jacket and practiced a convincing smile before returning to the gala. The path forward required careful timing and perfect control. The skills that built my career would now protect my future. The betrayal transformed from shocking to clarifying. Their true character revealed through this single malicious act. The gala continued around me like an elaborate theater production. Conversations buzzed with rehearsed enthusiasm. Brewery staff described imaginary expansion timelines with confident smiles. Board members nodded sagely at financial projections that defied mathematical reality. The entire scene shifted in my perception from celebration to performance, a stage set designed to manipulate not just me, but everyone present. The community leaders being courted for permits and approvals. The potential investors being wooed with promises of exclusive opportunities. The media representatives capturing quotes for promotional articles. Everyone participating willingly in the collective fiction of success and potential. The clarity felt almost liberating amid the deception. The numbers never lied once you identified the false inputs. The true financial situation became obvious when viewed through the lens of their desperate attempt to manipulate me. David collapsed 15 minutes later. Guests gasped as he stumbled against a display table. His eyes rolled back dramatically before he fell onto a velvet chaise lounge. Jake rushed forward, phone still recording but now less discreetly. Erin called for help with theatrical concern. I noticed her glancing at me with confusion. The event medical team arrived quickly. I overheard their assessment of apparent intoxication despite David claiming he had only one drink, my champagne glass. I slipped away during the commotion to gather my thoughts. The pieces formed a clear picture of attempted humiliation. They had planned to drug me, film my disoriented state, and do what exactly? Blackmail me for more money, force me to sign something while incapacitated. The specifics mattered less than the betrayal itself. The medical team worked efficiently amid growing whispers from guests. David protested weakly as they checked his vital signs. His confusion appeared genuine as they questioned his alcohol consumption. The young man insisted repeatedly that he had consumed only one drink all evening, my champagne glass. Jake continued filming while pretending to help. His camera angle captured the scene perfectly for maximum dramatic effect. Erin made phone calls with animated concern while watching the doorway I had exited through. Their plan clearly assumed I would be the one incapacitated on that velvet chaise. Their confusion at the unexpected outcome created a brief window of opportunity. I moved quietly through side hallways toward the parking area. The cool evening air provided welcome clarity after the suffocating atmosphere inside. My car waited exactly where I had left it. The familiarity of the leather seats and dashboard controls grounded me in reality beyond the surreal events unfolding inside. I started the engine with steady hands and pulled away without squealing tires or other dramatic flourishes. I drove home in perfect calm. The night air felt unusually clear. My house seemed different somehow, as if its familiar corners held new significance. I brewed a cup of Earl Grey tea and opened my laptop. The financial world operated continuously regardless of personal crises. Markets in different time zones never slept. Neither would I tonight. My retirement accounts were substantial after decades of careful management. My passwords and security protocols were impeccable. No one could access my assets without my explicit consent. Their plan had failed tonight, but the intent was clear. They saw me as nothing but a source of funds to exploit. The realization settled heavily in my chest. I allowed myself 10 minutes of disappointment before shifting to action. The house that had always felt like a sanctuary now served as command center for necessary countermeasures. Every room contained memories of Erin growing up, school photos chronicling her progress from gap-toothed child to poised young woman, science fair ribbons and soccer trophies from her varied interests, college acceptance letters framed proudly in the hallway, birthday celebrations and holiday gatherings recorded in photo albums on bookshelves. The emotional weight threatened to distract me from required action. I closed doors to rooms filled with nostalgia. The home office provided necessary separation from sentiment. The space designed for logical analysis and strategic planning. The environment I needed for clear thinking and decisive action. The desk lamp cast focused light on financial statements and legal documents. The computer screen displayed account balances and transaction histories. The facts provided foundation for response rather than emotional reaction. My financial records revealed patterns I had previously overlooked. The monthly transfers to their joint account had increased gradually over time. $8,000 currently compared to $3,000 when we first established the arrangement. The incremental increases had seemed reasonable with each justification offered. Rising costs for Lily's ballet training, expanded healthcare needs for the brewery staff, market pressures on ingredient sourcing, each explanation plausible in isolation. The cumulative effect now appeared strategic rather than coincidental. They had slowly acclimated me to larger contributions using the same psychological techniques that retailers employed. Small increases that avoided triggering resistance, thresholds. The manipulation extended beyond tonight's drugged champagne. The realization hardened my resolve to respond comprehensively rather than address only the immediate incident. Morning arrived with renewed purpose. I contacted my attorney Franklin before 7. He had handled my affairs for 20 years and understood the importance of discretion. I explained the situation without emotional embellishment. He asked few questions before agreeing to proceed. The brewery line of credit required my signature as guarantor. A simple phone call placed it on immediate freeze pending fraud investigation. Lily's Ballet Academy received notice that scholarship payments would cease after this month. The truth was that there never was a scholarship. I had arranged with the academy director to make it appear that way to spare Erin and Jake from feeling dependent. The Spring Gala board members received an anonymous tip about financial irregularities with the expansion fundraiser. Nothing specific, enough to cause immediate problems, but sufficient to trigger standard audit procedures. Franklin arrived at my home with signature pages and legal documents by 8:30. His silver hair and traditional suit projected exactly the professional authority needed for these circumstances. His expression remained neutral as I detailed the previous evening's events. His training matched mine in maintaining composure while processing disturbing information. He produced a voice recorder from his briefcase and asked permission to document my account. The formality felt appropriate, given the serious nature of the situation. I described the bitter taste on the champagne glass, the strategic positioning near the chaise lounge, Jake filming from behind the column, David's subsequent collapse after consuming my drink. Each detail recounted with clinical precision rather than emotional distress. Franklin nodded throughout without interruption. His eyes revealed concern beneath professional detachment. His hand occasionally paused in note-taking during particularly troubling revelations. The legal options Franklin outlined ranged from minimal to severe consequences. Temporary financial holds that could be reversed if satisfactory explanations emerged. Formal investigations into potential criminal charges for attempted drugging and fraud. Civil litigation to recover misused funds with interest and penalties. Each pathway offered advantages and drawbacks. The temporary measures provided opportunity for reconciliation if genuine contrition followed. The criminal options created permanent legal records that could affect Lily's future indirectly. The civil approach balanced accountability with discretion. I selected the middle path with specific conditions for potential resolution. The decisions felt surgical rather than punitive. Precise interventions designed to neutralize threats while preserving possibilities for future healing. Franklin recommended involving additional professional support, given the personal nature of the betrayal. The suggestion seemed unnecessary at first, but warranted consideration. Emotional clarity would require different tools than financial damage control. My phone rang several times that morning. I let each call go to voicemail. Erin sounded increasingly frantic with each message. She claimed David had taken something before the event. She asked if I was feeling all right. She mentioned Jake was worried about some banking issue. I deleted each message after listening once. The timestamps showed escalating panic as they discovered each action I had taken. My house felt peaceful for the first time in years. I opened windows to let spring air circulate through rooms that suddenly seemed more spacious. The weight of obligation had lifted, replaced by the lightness of clarity. They had 1 week before these temporary measures would become permanent decisions. My attorney had structured everything as reversible pending resolution. The clock was ticking on their comfortable life. The voicemails accumulated throughout the morning with increasing desperation. Erin claimed the brewery account showed unexpected holds. Jake reported urgent messages from their business banker regarding credit line issues. Both expressed confusion about these developments, coinciding with apparent technical glitches affecting Lily's Ballet Academy payments. Neither directly acknowledged the events involving the champagne. Neither asked about my well-being with genuine concern. Their priorities revealed themselves clearly through these communications. The financial disruption commanded their complete attention rather than potential harm to me. The pattern confirmed my response was appropriately calibrated. They understood the language of money more fluently than emotional consequences. The temporary financial restrictions would force necessary conversations that appeals to family loyalty or moral considerations never could. The strategy felt coldly effective rather than satisfying. The afternoon brought email notifications from financial institutions confirming my requested changes. Account access permissions updated successfully. Automatic transfers canceled as directed. Contingent authorizations revoked per formal request. Joint accounts converted to individual oversight pending review. Each confirmation appeared on my computer screen like tactical objectives accomplished. The systematic dismantling of their financial safety net proceeded with digital efficiency. The process felt surprisingly painless after years of increasing entanglement. The separation of our financial lives should have happened gradually as they established independence. Instead, it occurred abruptly as consequence of betrayal. The circumstances were regrettable, but the outcome ultimately necessary. Their financial training had been delayed too long by my enabling behavior. Reality would now provide the education I had failed to insist upon earlier. Jake arrived unannounced that afternoon. His luxury SUV screeched into my driveway with alarming speed. I watched through my security camera as he pounded on my front door, his face contorted with anger and fear. I remained seated in my kitchen, sipping tea and reviewing financial statements. The doorbell rang repeatedly before he finally gave up. His tires left marks on my pristine driveway as he departed. The property damage seemed fitting somehow, a visible reminder of the mess they had created. I received an email from him 20 minutes later. The subject line read "Urgent Family Matter." The body contained vague apologies and requests to talk. No acknowledgement of what they had attempted. No explanation that could possibly justify their actions. I archived the message without responding. The security footage showed Jake's complete tantrum in high definition, his expensive loafers stomping across my carefully maintained lawn, his manicured hand pounding my door with increasing force, his designer sunglasses pushed back to reveal reddened eyes and sweaty forehead, his mouth forming words that the camera captured without audio. The body language communicated entitlement rather than remorse, demands rather than apologies. The display confirmed that financial pressure had triggered expected results. Panic rather than reflection, anger rather than accountability. The response pattern matched profiles of individuals accustomed to manipulating others without consequences. The behavioral assessment strengthened my resolve to maintain distance until genuine change occurred. Token apologies or partial explanations would not suffice to restore trust, so fundamentally broken. Erin called my sister Margaret that evening, an attempted end run around my silence. Margaret phoned me immediately afterward to express concern. She said Erin claimed I was having some kind of breakdown. I explained the situation calmly, including the drugged champagne and their financial dependence. Margaret had always been perceptive about people. She asked pointed questions about their behavior over recent months. Had they seemed more distant? Had they made unusual requests? Had they expressed gratitude for my ongoing support? The answers painted a pattern we both recognized from our childhood. Our father had manipulated our mother financially for years before abandoning the family. History had nearly repeated itself with my daughter as the manipulator this time. Margaret promised to support whatever decision I made moving forward. Margaret listened without interruption as I detailed recent events. Her silence conveyed attention rather than judgment. Her occasional questions revealed insightful connections between seemingly unrelated behaviors. She had always possessed exceptional emotional intelligence that complemented my analytical strengths. We had balanced each other throughout childhood and adulthood with these different perspectives. Her observations now helped construct a more complete understanding of patterns I had missed. The gradual isolation from other family members over recent years, the increasing frequency of conversations about my retirement plans, the subtle criticisms of my spending choices and lifestyle preferences, the pieces assembled into deliberate strategy rather than coincidental developments. Margaret suggested professional therapy in addition to legal counsel. The recommendation seemed more relevant with her contextual framing. Financial protections addressed the practical dimensions of betrayal. Emotional recovery would require additional resources and perspectives. The evening passed quietly with purposeful activities. Financial documents organized chronologically in labeled folders. Electronic records backed up to secure cloud storage. Photographs and memorabilia sorted into appropriate categories. The process felt cleansing rather than painful. The organizational systems provided structure amid emotional uncertainty. The methodical approach had served me well throughout life during difficult transitions. College applications during my parents' divorce. Career advancement during pregnancy and single motherhood. Retirement planning during corporate restructuring. The familiar pattern of creating order within chaos provided comfort now. The tangible results of sorted papers and organized files represented progress when emotional resolution remained distant. The practical tasks allowed productive movement forward while deeper healing waited for proper timing. Sleep came surprisingly easily that night. The bedroom felt like sanctuary rather than lonely space. The silence represented peace rather than absence. The decisions made created boundary between past manipulation and future autonomy. The clarity provided restfulness that had been missing for months. Morning arrived with continued purposefulness. Breakfast prepared with attention to nutrition and presentation. Clothing selected for comfort and confidence. Schedule arranged with meaningful activities and necessary appointments. The routines established during decades of professional responsibility provided framework for navigating personal crisis. The habits developed for corporate leadership translated effectively to personal resilience. The structured approach allowed emotional processing without disruptive interruptions or reactive decisions. 3 days passed without direct contact. I maintained my normal routine externally while making significant changes to my financial arrangements. My attorney updated my will to exclude Erin and Jake completely. A trust was established for Lily with strict conditions that prevented her parents from accessing the funds. The money would become available for her education and career development only after she turned 25. I calculated the exact amount they had received from me over the past 5 years. The total came to $912,000, an amount that could have funded my retirement travels and philanthropic goals. Instead, it had enabled their entitled lifestyle, and ultimately, their betrayal. The figure strengthened my resolve to proceed. This was no longer about emotion, but principle. The new estate plan reflected careful consideration of potential future scenarios. The trust established for Lily included graduated access provisions based on age and purpose, educational expenses available immediately, with proper documentation, housing support beginning at age 25, with sustainable income verification, full access to remaining principal at age 35, after demonstrating financial responsibility. The structure balanced protection against manipulation with recognition of legitimate needs. The trustees selected had no personal connection to Erin or Jake. The legal professionals would make decisions based on established guidelines rather than emotional appeals. The arrangement protected Lily while avoiding punitive impact for her parents' choices. The approach satisfied both practical concerns and ethical considerations. The separation of financial support from personal relationship allowed possible reconciliation without monetary manipulation. Franklin provided daily updates on financial containment measures. The brewery line of credit remained frozen pending. Review of documentation. The business checking account showed minimal activity after initial holds. The personal accounts linked to my automatic transfers registered multiple overdraft attempts. The credit cards previously paid from joint resources showed declined transactions for luxury purchases. The patterns confirmed financial distress escalating exactly as expected. The situation would force confrontation with reality rather than continued fantasy lifestyle. The pressure created discomfort, but not genuine hardship. The inconvenience of restricted spending differed fundamentally from actual poverty. They retained their home and vehicles temporarily. They maintained access to basic necessities and essential services. The consequences created urgency without endangering health or safety. The calibrated response aimed for awareness rather than punishment. Local business publications began reporting brewing industry challenges affecting multiple craft operations. The articles mentioned supply chain disruptions and shifting consumer preferences. No specific references to Jake's brewery appeared yet. The general coverage provided context that would minimize reputational damage during necessary restructuring. The situation could be attributed to market forces rather than financial mismanagement or personal failings. The public narrative offered face-saving explanation if they chose responsible path forward. The option represented additional consideration beyond legal requirements. The professional courtesy resulted from my own experiences witnessing unnecessary public humiliation during corporate difficulties. The personal damage already inflicted required no additional public dimension. The private resolution would serve all interests more effectively than public exposure. The brewery faced immediate cash flow problems without the line of credit. Jake sent increasingly desperate messages through various channels. Text messages claimed bank errors were affecting their business accounts. Emails suggested technical problems with fund transfers. Voicemails requested urgent meetings about family communication issues. Each message carefully avoided mentioning the drugged champagne incident. Each plea focused on their financial distress rather than concern for my well-being. I documented everything methodically. Franklin suggested filing a police report about the attempted drugging. I decided to hold that option in reserve. My goal was resolution, not retribution, though the line between them had begun to blur. The messages revealed deteriorating logical consistency as pressure increased. Early communications maintained coherent deception about technical banking errors. Later messages mixed partial admissions with continued misdirection about intentions. Recent voicemails contained emotional appeals, disconnected from factual reality. The progression mirrored patterns I had observed during corporate fraud investigations. Initial denial followed by minimization, partial confession accompanied by deflection, emotional manipulation attempting to activate sympathy. The textbook progression confirmed the approach was deliberate rather than panicked reaction. The calculated nature of their response reinforced the necessity of maintaining distance during this phase. Genuine accountability could not emerge, while manipulation tactics remained their primary strategy. Time and consequences would eventually exhaust their resistance to honesty. News about the brewery spread through their social circle according to Margaret's discreet sources. Regular customers encountered unexpected closure notices citing equipment maintenance. Staff members received reduced schedules with vague explanations. Suppliers reported payment delays attributed to banking system glitches. The expanding consequences created mounting pressure for resolution. The situation could not continue indefinitely without permanent damage to business viability. The temporary nature of current measures would expire without appropriate response from Erin and Jake. The countdown created urgency that mere emotional appeals could never generate. The pragmatic reality of financial consequences accomplished what moral arguments could not. The situation demonstrated principle I had learned throughout career. Money represents condensed human time and energy. Changes to financial arrangements inevitably alter human behavior and priorities. Erin appeared at my regular salon appointment that Friday. She must have remembered my standing booking from all the times I had treated her to services there. Her eyes were red from crying, but her approach seemed calculated. The public setting ensured I would maintain composure. She spoke in hushed tones about misunderstandings and difficult situations. She claimed David had confessed to spiking drinks as a prank gone wrong. She suggested Jake had merely been filming general party footage. Each explanation unraveled with minimal scrutiny. I listened without interruption while my regular stylist worked on my hair. When Erin finished speaking, I simply stated that they had until Monday to provide complete honesty about their intentions. The salon lights reflected harshly off the scissors beside my chair. Erin flinched despite there being no threat beyond my deadline. She left without receiving any services. The receptionist mentioned she had booked a full spa day using my membership account. I closed the account that afternoon. The salon encounter demonstrated evolving strategy as previous approaches failed. The public setting represented attempt to leverage social constraints against direct confrontation. The narrative offered included partial admissions coated with continued deception. The emotional presentation seemed designed to activate maternal protective instincts. The approach revealed desperation rather than genuine remorse. The tactics might have succeeded before witnessing the champagne incident. The fundamental betrayal had permanently altered my perception of their communications. Every tearful explanation now appeared as performance rather than genuine emotion. Every carefully crafted explanation registered as manipulation rather than clarification. The transformation felt irreversible despite lingering maternal instincts. The protective mechanisms developed through decades of corporate negotiations now shielded me from exploitation by my own child. The realization brought sadness beneath continued resolve. My stylist commented on the encounter after Erin departed. She mentioned similar scenes witnessed throughout her career. Family disputes playing out in public spaces with forced politeness. Her perspective offered unexpected validation from neutral observer. Her assessment aligned with my own conclusions about calculated approach and theatrical emotional display. The third-party perspective confirmed my perceptions were accurate, rather than distorted by personal involvement. The confirmation strengthened my commitment to maintaining boundaries despite emotional appeals. The objective validation countered lingering self-doubt about appropriate response. The conversation shifted to lighter topics afterward with mutual understanding about privacy boundaries. The normal routine of hair appointment continued with surprising comfort, despite uncomfortable interruption. The return to mundane activities provided necessary balance during emotional upheaval. The weekend brought silence from their household. My security system alerted me to cars driving slowly past my house several times. None stopped or approached. I used the time to organize financial records and personal memorabilia. Photos of Erin through the years filled a storage box that I placed in the spare bedroom closet. Her childhood art projects and school awards joined the collection. Not discarded, but no longer displayed throughout my home. The process felt like necessary preparation, rather than emotional purging. I contacted colleagues from my professional days who specialized in forensic accounting. They agreed to examine the brewery finances as a courtesy to me. The preliminary results suggested concerning patterns beyond what I had already discovered. Money from the business had flowed into personal purchases and unexplained cash withdrawals. The betrayal extended deeper than I had initially suspected. The forensic accounting team delivered preliminary findings Saturday afternoon. Their analysis revealed systematic commingling of business and personal finances, company credit cards, used for high-end restaurant meals without business purpose, brewery equipment purchases resold immediately for cash, with no business records, tax documents showing discrepancies between reported income and actual deposits, payroll irregularities, including ghost employees receiving regular compensation. The patterns extended beyond disorganized bookkeeping into deliberate financial manipulation. The evidence suggested potential tax implications beyond civil liability. The findings explained their increasingly desperate attempts to maintain control of financial records. The exposure risk extended beyond family disappointment into potential legal consequences. The situation had evolved from family matter into potential criminal investigation if formal reports were filed. The option remained available if necessary to ensure compliance with reasonable resolution terms. Sunday morning brought unexpected email from Jake with formal tone. The message requested professional meeting to discuss outstanding financial matters. The language suggested attorney involvement in drafting communication. The shift indicated potential progress toward resolution. The approach aligned with my preferred framework for addressing complex situations. Professional context rather than emotional manipulation. Factual discussion rather than deflection tactics. The development suggested possible path toward managed resolution. I responded with brief acceptance, including specific time and neutral location. The parameters established clear boundaries while allowing necessary communication. The approach matched protocols developed during corporate crisis management. The framework provided structure for potentially volatile interactions. The process-oriented response focused on outcomes rather than emotional catharsis. Monday arrived, with unexpected clarity. The brewery failed to open its doors for regular business hours. Local business news reported temporary closure due to administrative issues. Lily missed her ballet class according to the academy director, who called to verify my instructions regarding the scholarship. Erin and Jake appeared on my doorstep at precisely noon. They looked disheveled and desperate. I invited them inside with formal politeness. The living room that had hosted countless family gatherings now felt like a corporate meeting space. I sat across from them with perfect posture and neutral expression. The silence stretched uncomfortably until Jake finally spoke. He admitted, everything with surprising candor. Their plan had indeed involved filming me in an incapacitated state to use as leverage for increasing my financial support. The brewery was failing despite its popular facade. Their personal debts had mounted beyond sustainable levels. They needed access to my retirement accounts to maintain appearances. Jake spoke with uncharacteristic directness as he detailed their financial situation. The brewery had operated at loss since opening, despite contrary public narrative. The initial business loan from me had been supplemented by high-interest, private financing. The expansion plans featured at Gala existed primarily to attract additional investment rather than address actual business needs. The monthly transfers from me had become essential for maintaining basic operations rather than supplemental support. Their personal finances had deteriorated alongside business challenges, credit card debt exceeding $100,000 across multiple accounts, second mortgage taken against home equity already, luxury car leases with balloon payments, approaching due dates. The lifestyle maintenance had consumed resources faster than acquisition could replenish them. The unsustainable system required continual expansion of available credit and cash flow. My retirement accounts represented last untapped resource within reach. Erin cried silently throughout his confession. When her turn came to speak, she revealed additional details. The gala had been designed primarily to impress me with their success. The expansion plans existed only on paper. Most of their wealthy friends were actually paid actors hired to create an illusion of social and business connections. The drugging plan had developed gradually, after several conversations about my retirement funds. They had convinced themselves it was ultimately for my benefit, a way to protect me from making financial decisions they deemed unnecessarily frugal. The money would stay in the family after all. They had justified each step with increasingly tortured logic. Her voice trailed off as the weight of their actions became undeniable even to them. The hired actors explained the strange inconsistencies I had noticed during the gala, the rehearsed quality of conversations about brewing, the generic compliments about business growth, the vague industry knowledge from supposed experts. The performance had been comprehensive but ultimately unsuccessful due to my professional background. The deception extended beyond single evening, into fabricated business narrative spanning years. The revelation explained discrepancies between reported brewery success and financial reality. The elaborate facade had required increasing resources to maintain against mounting evidence of failure. The pressure had driven increasingly desperate measures, culminating in drugged champagne plot. The comprehensive deception represented commitment to appearances regardless of underlying reality. The pattern mirrored larger societal tendencies toward presentation over substance. The observation provided context, but not justification for their specific betrayal. I maintained perfect composure throughout their confessions. My hands remained steady on the armrests of my chair. My breathing remained even and controlled. When they finished speaking, I presented them with documents my attorney had prepared. The first outlined repayment terms for every dollar they had received from me. The second established a monitoring system for their finances moving forward. The third required their signed acknowledgement of attempting to administer drugs without consent. The consequences of failing to comply were clearly articulated: complete financial cutoff, legal action, and permanent estrangement. Their options were limited but not non-existent. They could rebuild on honest foundations or continue their deceptive patterns without my resources. The choice remained theirs, despite the narrowed circumstances. The repayment agreement included reasonable terms, despite circumstances. 10-year timeline with minimal interest, monthly payments scaled to realistic income expectations, provisions for hardship circumstances, with proper documentation, forgiveness options tied to verified community service hours. The approach balanced accountability with practical feasibility. The financial monitoring requirements established appropriate transparency without micromanagement, quarterly reviews with professional financial advisor, annual audits of business and personal accounts, prior approval for purchases exceeding defined thresholds. The framework provided necessary oversight while allowing daily autonomy. The acknowledgement document preserved evidence without immediate legal filing. The signed statement would remain with my attorney unless additional incidents occurred. The approach maintained leverage while allowing path toward rehabilitation. The structure created accountability without vengeance. Jake signed immediately with shaking hands. Erin hesitated longer, reading each document multiple times through tears. Her signature finally joined his on the final page. They looked broken sitting on my sofa, shoulders slumped in defeat. I felt no satisfaction in their distress, no vindication in their suffering, only certainty that this resolution was necessary for all our well-being. I informed them that Lily would continue receiving support through the trust. Their relationship with her remained their responsibility to maintain appropriately. They nodded wordlessly at my terms. The meeting concluded without dramatic statements or emotional outbursts. They left my home with signed documents and diminished prospects. I closed the door behind them with a sense of completion rather than triumph. The subsequent days brought expected adjustments to their public narrative. The brewery announced official downsizing with focus on sustainable core business. The expansion plans received indefinite postponement due to market conditions. The staff reductions occurred with appropriate severance packages, funded through structured debt arrangements. The business hours adjusted to match actual customer patterns rather than aspirational growth. The changes represented painful but necessary alignment with financial reality. Their home listed for sale with local real estate agency the following week. The asking price reflected current market value rather than aspirational appreciation. The luxury vehicles disappeared from their driveway, replaced by modest pre-owned models. The external adjustments indicated internal acceptance of necessary changes. The transition appeared genuine, despite originating from external pressure rather than internal realization. Franklin provided weekly updates on compliance monitoring. The financial advisor reported appropriate engagement during initial assessment. Meetings. The debt consolidation process proceeded according to established timelines. The personal spending adjustments showed commitment to sustainable patterns. The business reorganization demonstrated realistic assessment of viable operations. The progress exceeded minimal compliance requirements. The indicators suggested potential for genuine rehabilitation rather than superficial adjustment. The developments provided cautious optimism about future possibilities. The enforced honesty created foundation for potential relationship healing. The professional oversight allowed family interaction without financial manipulation dynamics. The structure separated necessary accountability from emotional reconciliation processes. The approach maintained appropriate boundaries while allowing potential growth. 6 months passed with strict adherence to our agreement. The brewery downsized to sustainable operations under oversight from my appointed financial manager. Jake worked regular hours behind the bar, rather than playing the role of visionary owner. Erin found employment with a local marketing firm. Her Ivy League degree finally applied to legitimate career development. They sold their oversized house and luxury vehicles to meet repayment obligations. Lily continued her ballet training with direct payments from the trust to the academy. Sunday dinners resumed with new boundaries and expectations clearly established. Conversation remained somewhat stilted, but gradually improved with each gathering. Trust would require much longer to rebuild if it ever could be fully restored. The financial restructuring created unexpected positive outcomes despite difficult transition. The brewery discovered sustainable business model at appropriate scale. The reduced overhead and realistic goals allowed actual profitability for first time. The authentic approach attracted loyal customer base appreciative of quality. Over expansion, the business stabilized with modest success rather than phantom growth. Their personal financial education accelerated through necessity. Budgeting skills developed through mandatory monitoring systems. delayed gratification practiced through spending approval processes, value assessment recalibrated through constrained resources. The imposed discipline created skills that should have developed naturally during early adulthood. The learning occurred later than optimal, but appeared genuinely integrated rather than superficially adopted. The progress indicated capacity for growth despite concerning history. Our family dinners evolved gradually from awkward obligation to cautious reconnection. Conversation topics remained deliberately neutral during early gatherings. Weather patterns and community events, traffic developments and neighborhood changes, Lily's school activities and ballet progress, the avoidance of meaningful topics eventually gave way to more substantial exchanges. Erin shared challenges from her new marketing position. Jake discussed craft beer industry trends affecting small producers. I offered occasional advice when directly requested rather than proactively, directing their choices. The dynamic shifted incrementally from performance toward authenticity. The relationship progressed from superficial pleasantries toward tentative trust. The family connection survived in altered form despite fundamental betrayal. The resilience surprised all participants in different ways. Margaret joined our family gatherings occasionally as neutral observer and supportive presence. Her natural warmth and genuine interest created comfortable atmosphere for gradual rebuilding. Her questions invited reflection without interrogation. Her observations acknowledged progress without premature celebration. Her perspective provided validation for incremental improvement. Her presence reminded everyone of larger family context beyond immediate nuclear unit. The expansion of participants diluted intensity of rebuilding efforts. The additional perspective prevented retreat into dysfunctional patterns during difficult conversations. The support demonstrated importance of community during recovery processes. The family system expanded beyond isolated triangle that had enabled manipulation originally. The structural change prevented return to previous problematic dynamics, despite occasional attempts. My retirement proceeded with adjusted plans. The European river cruise became a weekend at a nearby lakeside cabin. The downtown condo became a modest apartment closer to my sister. The philanthropic foundation became targeted donations to selected causes. Each change reflected practical realities rather than punishment. My financial security remained intact, despite their betrayal. My emotional well-being improved with honest relationships replacing obligatory support. Lily performed in her first major ballet recital that winter. I attended alongside Erin and Jake with appropriate distance between our seats. Her performance brought genuine tears to all our eyes. Some connections remained unbroken despite everything that had transpired. The retirement adjustments represented shift in priorities rather than financial necessity. The travel plans simplified to focus on experience quality rather than destination prestige. Weekend explorations of regional attractions replaced international itineraries temporarily. The housing decisions emphasized community connection rather than status representation. The location near Margaret created natural support system and regular social engagement. The philanthropic approach focused on direct impact rather than institutional legacy. Local organizations addressing immediate community needs received targeted support. The changes reflected evolving values rather than reduced circumstances. The experiences during family crisis clarified genuine priorities beyond social expectations or habitual patterns. The transformation represented unexpected growth, despite painful catalyst. The trust established for Lily provided foundation for her development beyond family difficulties. Her ballet training continued without interruption, despite parental, financial challenges. Her educational savings remained secure for future college expenses. Her relationship with me developed independently from parental dynamics. Our weekly outings became treasured tradition for both generations. art museum visits and botanical garden explorations, children's theater performances and science center exhibitions. The activities provided normalcy amid family reconstruction efforts. The consistency offered stability during parental lifestyle adjustments. The grandparent relationship flourished, despite adult relationship complications. The separation of financial support from emotional manipulation allowed genuine connection to develop. The arrangement protected innocent child from consequences of adult choices while maintaining appropriate family bonds. Professional therapy proved valuable addition to recovery process for all involved. Individual counseling helped Aaron explore patterns leading to extreme choices. Financial therapy helped Jake address relationship with money and success definitions. Family sessions facilitated communication beyond superficial pleasantries. The professional guidance provided framework for processing complex emotions constructively. The external perspective helped identify multi-generational patterns requiring intervention. The facilitated conversations allowed expression of difficult truths without relationship destruction. The investment demonstrated commitment to genuine healing rather than surface reconciliation. The approach acknowledged serious breach while creating potential for authentic rebuilding. The professional support supplemented legal and financial structures with emotional and psychological resources. The lessons learned proved valuable for everyone involved. I recognized how enabling behavior had contributed to their sense of entitlement. They discovered the consequences of prioritizing appearances over integrity. Lily observed adults taking responsibility for mistakes and rebuilding with honesty. The financial damage could be repaired over time. The relationship damage would leave permanent scars. We proceeded anyway with realistic expectations and necessary precautions. Family connections continued with modified terms and conditions. Love remained complicated but not completely destroyed. My forensic accounting skills had saved me from their betrayal. My life experience guided me toward resolution rather than revenge. The balance felt appropriate for moving forward with dignity. The greatest lesson emerged gradually through recovery process. Authentic relationships require genuine accountability rather than performance of success. Financial support without honest communication creates dependency rather than growth. Appearances, maintained through deception, eventually collapse under own weight. Integrity matters more than social perception or status maintenance. The principles applied universally across family and business contexts. The financial accountability systems established boundaries that should have existed naturally. The relationship rebuilding required honesty that should have been foundational. The painful lessons created opportunity for genuine connection, previously absent despite superficial closeness. The family system reorganized around truth rather than appearance. The transformation offered hope, despite originating from betrayal and manipulation. The future remained uncertain, but grounded in reality, rather than illusion. Time continues its healing work gradually and imperfectly. 2 years have passed since that spring gala changed everything. The brewery operates modestly but honestly now. The marketing focuses on quality rather than manufactured exclusivity. The financial reports show small but genuine profits each quarter. Their new home accommodates actual needs without pretension. Their careers progress through merit rather than manipulation. Our Sunday dinners continue with increasingly comfortable conversation. The financial monitoring continues with decreasing resistance over time. The trust fund for Lily remains separate from their direct control. The arrangement protects all parties from returning to destructive patterns. The boundaries provide safety while allowing relationship to heal naturally. The forced honesty created foundation for potential forgiveness. The process continues without guaranteed outcomes. The journey matters more than destination at this point. point. What would you do if someone you trusted completely betrayed you for financial gain?